All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to get into something you'll see in your practice every single day, a really foundational concept, the child ego state. So, let's start with a really important question. In any given session, who are you really talking to? Because, it's often not just the adult sitting across from you. You're actually interacting with a whole lifetime of experiences, all these feelings and ways of coping that are just as real today as they were back then. So here's what we're going to cover. We'll look at the natural child, then the little professor, the adopted child, and finally, what happens when that child part just takes over. The whole point here is to get you comfortable spotting these different parts in your clients. And yeah, you'll probably start seeing them in yourself too. Okay, let's get this clear from the start. The child ego state, it's not just a collection of old memories. The key thing to grasp is that it's a permanent recording. It's a living, breathing part of the personality that can be activated at any moment. It's this whole inner world that can suddenly come online and totally influence what's happening right there in the room with your client. All right, let's jump into the first piece of the puzzle, the natural child. Think of this as the untrained infant that lives inside all of us. It's that core part of us that's all about spontaneous, uncensored feelings and impulses. It's basically who we are before the world starts telling us who we should be. So when we see the natural child in a positive light, it's all about being affectionate, impulsive, sensuous, that uncensored curiosity and spontaneity. This is the part that gives a person their charm, their warmth, that ability to feel real joy. When you see someone just completely lose themselves in a moment of fun, that's it. That's a healthy natural child at play. But here's where it gets really interesting, right? There's a flip side. That same charming, spontaneous part of us can also be incredibly fearful, self-indulgent, and totally self-centered. It can become rebellious and even aggressive. This is the part that wants what it wants, and it wants it now. And if it doesn't get it, well, that's when you see the adult equivalent of a temper tantrum. And this quote, wow, it just captures it perfectly. I want those dates, and if I can't have that much, you can all go to blazes around here. This is exactly what happens when that negative natural child hijacks the adult. This was said by a woman, Mary, a very competent employee, who completely torpedoed her career chances by having a full-blown tantrum at work when her vacation request was denied. It's a perfect and kind of sad example of how this part of us can be so self-defeating. Okay, let's move on to the second component. This one's called the little professor. And I love that name because it really captures what it is. This is our intuitive, creative, inner genius. It's that unschooled wisdom, the part of us that just figures things out based on hunches and reading the room, not from a textbook. So the little professor is intuitive, it's creative, it's full of this unschooled wisdom. It's the part that responds to nonverbal cues, and yeah, it totally believes in magic. This is where all our creativity comes from. But, and this is a big but, because it isn't informed by adult logic or data, it can also be incredibly manipulative. And you can see how this develops, like right from the beginning. Think about it. An infant fakes being sick or scared. Mom rushes over to soothe them. Boom. The tactic works, and it gets stored away. The child doesn't think, I have successfully conditioned my caregiver. No. To the little professor, it's magic. I wanted something, and it happened. And that belief in magic, it doesn't just go away. It can stick around and be super powerful in adulthood. This is your client who's waiting for that magical solution to just appear. The perfect job, the dream partner. They're waiting for life to happen to them. As Eric Berne put it so beautifully, for most, Santa Claus never comes. If there is a knock on the door, at best, it is only the milkman. They're waiting for Santa, but they need to learn to be their own milkman. All right, so that leads us right into our third and final part of the child, the adapted child. This is the part of us that learns to modify its natural impulses. It's our response to the world, to our parents, to teachers, to all the oughts and shoulds we grow up with. And a lot of what you see in your clients, how they act in the world, and even how they act with you, is just a replay of these old patterns. Things like complying, withdrawing, procrastinating, sulking. These are the strategies they learned as a kid to get what they needed or to avoid getting hurt. And man, those patterns get wired in deep. Procrastination is such a perfect example of this. Think about the internal dynamic. The natural child inside wants to scream, "No, I won't do it." But the adapted child is too scared of the consequences. So what happens? The clever little professor comes up with a compromise. I won't say no, I'll just stall. It's a way to rebel passively. And that could become a life script, just like this epitaph says. She always meant to, but something always interfered. And here's another one, just as powerful and honestly pretty tragic. He ran out of time. That's what happens. It's the ultimate outcome of a life lived through procrastination. They just never get around to living it. Okay, so we've met the three parts of the child. The big question now is, when does this part actually take over? What are the triggers that bring the child ego state roaring to the surface in your clients? Or in you? Well, you'll see it pop up when someone is injured or sick, when they're tired or worried, definitely when they're under stress. But also, funny enough, in fun situations like a party. And a huge one, when they're responding to someone else who's acting like a parent. Anytime we're in a situation of dependency or stress, those old childhood coping mechanisms, the whining, the withdrawing, the demanding, they are right there, ready to go. Someone comes at you like a critical parent, and boom, it can hook your inner child instantly. And listen to this. This just shows how painful and long-lasting this can be. Although I am a grown woman and have children of my own, my mother is still the most important person in my life. I have always felt that she never loved me. You can just feel the adapted child in that statement, right? That endless, painful hunt for parental approval that keeps a person stuck, unable to fully live their adult life in the here and now. So that's the key takeaway, right? We're not talking about one monolithic child. We're talking about three very distinct parts. So let's recap. You've got the natural child who feels free and acts on impulse, affectionate, spontaneous, but also selfish. You have the little professor, the seat of intuition and creativity, but also manipulation. And then the adapted child who responds to training by being compliant, withdrawing, or procrastinating. It's so important to remember, none of these are good or bad. They just are. And each one gives you a crucial piece of your client's puzzle, helping you understand why they feel and act the way they do today. So I'll leave you with this question to take into your work this week. Which child will you meet in your next session? Really listen. Listen for that playful spark, the creative idea, but also listen for the sulking, the compliance, the demands. Try to hear the voice of the child inside your client, because so often that's exactly where the real work, the most profound healing begins.